Hello everyone. So let us continue our discussion on asymmetric synthesis. So let's start with a discussion of what is asymmetric synthesis. So asymmetric synthesis is basically, as I told you in the previous video, here we actually are making a single enantiomer in its pure form. So whenever we do any synthesis which would lead to synthesis of a particular enantiomer in its pure form, or it can be enantiomeric excess, that some of the times you are not able to synthesize pure enantiomer, but rather you synthesize one of the enantiomer in excess and the other enantiomer might be present in less significant amount. So that is called enantiomeric excess. So both this enantiomeric excess as well as when you are able to synthesize a pure enantiomer, that particular synthesis which lead to them are called as asymmetric synthesis. Another way of defining is whenever you are able to introduce one or more new elements of chirality in the molecule by changing any kind of functional group, then we say those synthesis as asymmetric synthesis. Now, how we are going to do that? One way of doing is by use of biocatalysts. Biocatalysts are basically, are enzymes. Okay, so if we suppose think about this particular reaction where you are reducing or adding hydrogen cyanide on this particular benzaldehyde. Okay, when you do it in the absence of catalyst or just an inorganic catalyst if you use, what you happen to find is that the product which contains an asymmetric center is actually racemic in nature. That means both the enantiomers are formed. Okay, so that means how to introduce asymmetry here. That means how can you do asymmetric synthesis in this particular reaction. If you use an enzyme called mandellonitrile lyase, which is obtained from this particular millipede, okay, when you use this enzyme, what happens is you get exclusively the plus enantiomer, and this enantiomer is the naturally found mandellonitrile. Okay, so by use of a biocatalyst like enzyme, you can synthesize a particular enantiomer. Like in this case, you can get exclusively the R enantiomer without having to go through any kind of racemic formation. Okay, so this is one good example of use of a biocatalyst. In books, if you can find more examples of use of biocatalysts where different enzymes are used to carry out different kinds of asymmetric synthesis. Another way of doing asymmetric synthesis by use of chiral pools. Now, what are chiral pools? Chiral pools are those enantiomerically pure form that is available in nature. As I told you in the previous discussion on asymmetric synthesis, I told you nature has asymmetry. That means it exclusively synthesizes a single enantiomer. For example, all the amino acids that you find in nature, they are L form. L form is the amino acid. And all the naturally occurring sugar molecule, they are D form. Okay, and this is another alpha hydroxy acid which is actually synthesized by kind of functional group interchange of amino to OH. So this particular molecule that you get is also enantiomer. Then lactic acid that you find in milk is a S enantiomer. So all these molecules that you find in nature, they are already enantiomerically pure. So if you want to make a synthetic molecule using these natural enantiomeric molecule, then that such type of synthesis can lead to asymmetry in the molecule. For example, so this is a naturally occurring enantiomer amino acid which is serine. Okay, and this is very cheap. Okay, because it's naturally occurring and it's abundant. However, as I told you when I talked about glyceraldehyde, in nature you find D-glyceraldehyde. However, the L-glyceraldehyde is not found in nature. So that means that enantiomer, if you want, you have to synthesize it. Now, usually it is very expensive because it is not purely available in nature, it's expensive. Okay, so how do we synthesize this unnatural or non-natural L-glyceraldehyde? So what we do is we'll start with S-serine. So initially we do a diazotization and then hydrolysis. So when you diazotize using NaNO2 HCl, it leads to N2 formation, which on hydrolysis lead to the formation of OH. Okay, and then what you do is you will kind of protect this group by formation of a acetol. By reaction with acetone, you are able to form a acetol and thereby protect this hydroxy group. Then what you do is you will reduce it. So when you reduce carboxylic acid, it will get converted to corresponding alcohol. So when you reduce it using LaH, that is lithium aluminum hydride, it will be reduced to CH2OH. Okay, and then you can oxidize this primary alcohol using PCC, pyridinium chlorochromate. Pyridinium chlorochromate. This is a very good oxidizing agent. You will talk about oxidizing agent in various portions of the organic chemistry, where when you use this particular oxidizing agent, it will selectively oxidize primary alcohol to aldehyde. Okay, so when you have reduced it to aldehyde, then on hydrolysis you can get back your L-glyceraldehyde. So here, if we are going from S-serine to L-glyceraldehyde, so what is the changes that you require here? Only changes, NH2 need to be converted to OH and this acid need to be converted to aldehyde. So these are the transformation that we do in order to get the L-glyceraldehyde in enantiomerically pure form. So here we have used L-serine, which is the naturally occurring serine molecule, and we diazotized it, hydrolyzed it, and then protected it, because if you don't protect it, when you reduce it, then these OH can also get reduced in the process. So we have to protect it using acetol reaction. You know what is an acetol. So you acetol formation, you protect these two OH group, then you do the reduction and then you oxidize it, convert it into aldehyde, and then you hydrolyze to break this and get back the OH molecule. So it's a very pretty straightforward process leading to the unnatural L-glyceraldehyde. So this is where you are using chiral pool molecule in order to make enantiomerically pure form. This is one way of doing the asymmetric synthesis. Another approach is the chiral auxiliary approach. So basically auxiliary means here what you do is, if you have a starting material which is kind of achiral, and if you attach these chiral molecule which are there as an attachment on that molecule, then that molecule automatically becomes chiral. Okay, so once you induce a chirality in the molecule, when you do the reaction, it would lead to formation of a enantiomerically pure form of the product. Let me explain it with an example. So this is a chiral auxiliary that is used. This is actually synthesized from L-valine, which is naturally available in the chiral pool. So just by modification of the L-valine, you can make this particular molecule. Okay, and what right now we are going to do is we have to synthesize from here and we have to get back this particular molecule. So if you see, this is our product and this is our reactant. Okay, so if you want to get your product from here to here, what are all the difference that you find in? Here you have to introduce, that means you have to convert this acid chloride into OH, and only difference here you find is you have to introduce a CH2PH group. Okay, so one very easy way of doing it is by treating it with base. You can generate a kind of negative charge here. By abstraction of proton, it becomes negatively charged. Then you can probably treat it with phenyl iodide and it will undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction leading to the formation of this particular moiety, and then this acid chloride can be converted easily to carboxylic acid just by hydrolysis. Okay, but here what you have to remember is once you generate a carbon anion here, both the enantiomers are possible. That means the nucleophile can attack this molecule from the bottom side as well as the top side of this particular carbon atom. That will lead to both kind of enantiomer at this asymmetric center, but we require this particular enantiomer. So in order to do that, what we do is we will attach this chiral auxiliary to this molecule initially. So once you introduce this chiral auxiliary here and then you treat it with base, that is lithium diisopropyl amine, when you treat with this, what happens? Again a enol is formed and enolate thereby forms. So what is happening is once you generate a negative charge here, it can form a enolate. Okay, so that is the enolate that is formed here. Once enolate is formed, because we have lithium present, they can kind of form a charged ionic state here. So once this is formed, next step is the addition of this phenyl methyl iodide. So when you treat this particular enolate, when it attacks this, it will attack this molecule from the bottom side of this particular center. Why this particular attack happens from the bottom side is because the top side of this molecule is sterically hindered by this isopropyl group. So because of that, the attack of this when this attack here, when the negative charge gets back and this attacks this particular CH2 and I leaves here, basically it's a nucleophilic substitution reaction. So when it happens, what happens? The attack is happening from the bottom side of this particular alkene plane. So when it happens from the bottom side of the alkene plane, what you generate is the CH2PH on the bottom side. Okay, so top side enantiomer is not formed here. Now you can remove this chiral auxiliary just by hydrolysis. You will get a acid in this particular phase and you get back your chiral auxiliary here. So basically why it's called this chiral compound that you got by modification of chiral pool is called as chiral auxiliary is because they are attached to the achiral molecule for a short time just to carry out a asymmetric synthesis. And once you have achieved your targeted asymmetric synthesis, you can easily cleave this chiral molecule out and you can reuse it. So that is why such type of molecules are called as chiral auxiliary. So I have shown here two molecules that are kind of chiral auxiliary. One is this particular moiety which we have used in the example just now I showed. Another is this particular auxiliary. There are many chiral auxiliaries that are used for doing this kind of asymmetric synthesis. So here we are converting this particular molecule in here. We are introducing a chiral center here. In order to introduce a chiral center here, we attach this chiral auxiliary. Okay, so basically how it is attached, we treat it with N-butyl lithium, a base is generated and the base will attack here. You have movement of electron. When it gets back to it, you have the attachment of this chiral auxiliary. Then what we do, we will treat it with lithium diisopropyl amine, leading to formation of a enolate here, and the enolate then attack this phenyl methyl iodide, leading to the bottom side attack on this particular molecule because the top side is protected by or sterically hindered by the isopropyl group here. So once you have formed this particular enantiomer which actually you want, the next step is simple hydrolysis using lithium hydroxide leading to your required chiral molecule. So these are the three ways in which you can do asymmetric synthesis. So I hope you have understood what do you mean by asymmetric synthesis and what are the three approaches by which you can do this, and also the challenges that are faced in asymmetric synthesis, that is nothing but formation of a racemic mixture when you do the asymmetric synthesis as well as racemization. Thank you very much for your attention.